This video explains how to do the final descent manipulation for 0 encounters on the final descent in the PSX Disc All-Bosses category for FF7. The first thing you need to do is set your stone value. You need to do this the last time you dig at Bone Village. Um, you'll probably be digging twice in Bone Village, so you're going to time it a little bit differently from how other final descent manipulations for other categories work. In other categories, you would enter Bone Village at a certain time, run up and mash circle. Um, this also is a little bit different because you're not going to be just mashing circle, because you're not going to be digging for the lunar harp. You're going to be digging for good treasure, which is the second option on the second dialogue when you talk to him. So you're going to be doing this dialogue, start digging, and then good treasure. The in-game times that you want to use are 7 seconds, 23 seconds, 39 seconds, and 55 seconds. But you want to go about halfway through the second. If you go too early, your value will be 1 too early. So for example, we're going to use 39. If you go right when it changes to 39, you will have the wrong value. If you go right when it changes to 40 and you're extremely fast, you'll have the correct value, but I would recommend going when it's about halfway through the second or just before it changes to the next second. Um, so this is, we're going to use 39, 39 and a half. You're going to watch the seconds, and when it hits the time you want, you're going to close the menu, mash circle, choose the first dialogue, then choose the second dialogue for good treasure, and keep mashing, and that will set your stone value to 177. You can see the stone value and the list value in the top left. Those are the two values that are used in this manipulation for the final descent. So at 39 and a half, we'll close it, mash, choose the second option. And you can see that the stone value just got set to 177. And it will stay on that value for the rest of the game. The only time it changes at this point in the game is when you dig in Bone Village, and you're not going to be digging again after this. If you, for some reason, do need to dig again, you'll have to do the same thing again. Um, so the second thing you do when you go to Mideel later in the run and you do some shops over here, as you're leaving, come to about here where you can see the dog on the right side of the screen. Now this is probably the hardest part of the setup. Um, you can see that the list value is changing, and sometimes it's changing very quickly, sometimes it's stopping for a little bit on a value, and we need to set this value um, to a range of values. 40 is the earliest one that you would want to set it to, um, and a few values later is still okay. This is not a super tight setup. Um, but the pattern is listed on the left. That's the full cycle, and we're going to wait until it does 1 pant and then scratches its head, and then 7 pants and then scratches its head, then 21 pants scratches its head, and then if you leave at that point, that is about the earliest that you can go. And then after that, it will pant one more time and then scratch its head again. And if you leave when it's scratching its head at that point, that is still okay. So I've left the dog up on the screen for a little bit here, and you can kind of try and memorize the pattern if you want. You might need to experiment with this. It's a little bit tricky. It's a little harder than other final descent manipulations that use the weather vane in Cosmo Canyon or the lamp in Return to Midgar. But this is what it looks like at the correct part of the pattern. So 1, 2, scratch. 1, scratch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, scratch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, scratch, and then go. And I went a little later than the earliest time. And like I said, you can go a little bit later. When he was scratching his head uh, the last time after the 21 pants, um, where we left, after he scratches, he'll scratch his head once, um, or he'll pant once and then scratch his head again. And at that point, you can still go and it's okay. So the next place that matters is when you go back to the Sunken Galnica to um, to get speed sources and duplicate them. Um, Honestly, I'm not very familiar with this run. I've never actually done the run, but based on some videos I watched and what I know of the step route, you're going to spend between 10 and 20 seconds in the room where you're farming encounters. Um, and that doesn't include time in the battles or in the menu. So it's not very tight. You'll see that the list value changes very slowly in that screen. It's based on a water droplet dripping on the ground, which happens only every few seconds. So even if it's 30 or 40 seconds that you're on that screen, it's probably still okay. Um, but it should be at least about 10 seconds. If you're only on that screen for a very short amount of time, then you're going to want to make sure that you go later on the dog in Mideel. Um, the more time that you're in the Sunken Galnica or Calm or the Northern Crater, um, the earlier you want to leave in the dog pattern, and the less time that you're in Galnica, Calm, and Northern Crater, the later you want to go in the dog pattern. So in Sunken Galnica, you'll have the same value that you got when you left Mideel for your list value. You'll go in here. This first room does matter. I hold down, right, and R1, or excuse me, down left and R1, and I release R1 for just a moment so that I don't run into the save point. If you do run into the save point, that's okay. Just clear the dialogue as quickly as possible. If you need to menu, that's fine. Just make sure that you're not spending too much time on the screen that's unnecessary. Um, so we're not going to actually farm the encounters because I don't have a save state for the correct step route. So we're just going to wait in this room for 18 seconds. And that should be about how long the RNG is advancing if you're farming the encounter um, and running in circles. So you're going to be running around like this and getting some encounters. While you're in the encounter and while you're in the menu, it's not going to be active. Just make sure that the total time here um, is about 15, 20, 30 seconds. That was 22. That should be fine. And then you come here and you want to grab the ladder as quickly as possible. Again, if you need to go to the save point, just make sure you do it quickly. While you're in the menu, it's okay. There's Emerald Weapon. He won't be there. Actually, he might be there. I think you kill him after that. But then you can see my list value is 214. The next place that matters is Calm after Emerald Weapon. So I'm going to freeze these values, go to Calm. And this is pretty easy movement. And again, the list value is changing pretty slowly. So don't worry about being too perfect. None of this setup is super tight. So you're going to run over here and go into this building. You're going to talk to the Calm Traveler upstairs, do your thing, and then leave. And you just want to have reasonably good movement. going through calm. And when you leave, you'll have a list value somewhere around 252. And when I say somewhere around that, I don't mean numbers that are close to 252 because your list value is changing by 177 every time it changes. And in the comments for this video, I have a link to a wiki page that has all of the list values for stone 177, and you can use that to kind of see what order they come in. And you can also use that to see if something goes wrong with your final descent, um, see which encounters you got on the final descent, and figure out whether you're early or late. If you get one on the first couple of rocks, then you were early. If you get one on the last couple of rocks, then you were late. And you just need to adjust how long you're at the dog or your movement or whatever. So then after that is the northern crater. So let's freeze our stone and list values again, go to the northern crater, unfreeze them. And there are a few screens in the northern crater where your list value is going to be changing. You just want to have good movement there. This setup assumes that you're not taking any walking steps on screens that have RNG active where the list value is changing. If you do, then you might need to adjust the setup so that you go a little bit earlier at the dog or whatever to make your values a little bit earlier. But we'll go through the northern crater just to show it. Grab the save crystal. This is one of the screens where RNG is active, so you want to be relatively good on your movement. Just to speak to how loose this setup is and how much room for error there is, you saw that I was pretty loose about when I left the dog, when I left Mideel as far as the dog's pattern. And I wasn't perfect in the Sunken Galnica either. I did 22 seconds. In some videos I saw it was 14 or 18 seconds, but 22 is definitely fine. So this screen does not have active RNG. Let me fast forward through some of this. And I have encounters turned off, but you'll, of course, get encounters. This screen also does not have RNG active on it, so if you're slow on these screens, it won't affect it. You'll do save crystal glitch. You'll probably be taking 3 people. Whoops. Nope. Let's try that again. So you just get close to the stalactite, go to save crystal, hold circle, then wait for it to glitch out the text box. You're probably going to be taking 3 people, I believe Yuffie and Sid, or Yuffie and Vincent left. So I'm going to take Tifa and Sid. But the number of people that you have here determines how long you're on the next screen. So you'll probably have 3 people with you. You need to clear dialogs pretty quickly here. Choose down, down, down. And then run off as quickly as possible. Again, RNG advances pretty slowly on this screen, so don't worry about it. It's not very tight. RNG is not active on this screen, but it is on this one. So you can see the list value changing. So you need to try and have pretty good movement here and make sure you're going the correct directions. And it's also active on this screen here. So same thing, you want to be efficient with your movement. And then you also want to mash quickly in this part before the final descent. There's a part of it where RNG is active, and you need to make sure that you're not too slow. This PHS screen, RNG is not active, so if you're slow to change out party members or whatever you need to do, that's fine. Press start, keep mashing, and then you're at the final descent, and we should get 0 encounters. So there you go. That is how to do the final descent manipulation for PSX Disc All-Bosses. Thanks for watching.